Today's lesson is going to be on simple interest. And our focus question for today is, when would we use simple interest? So we have two banks offering different incentives to make a deposit at their bank. Making a deposit is putting money into the bank. Bank A offers a $10 gift card for making a minimum initial deposit. And Bank B offers cash back equal to 2% of your deposit at the end of the year. Tell which line represents each bank's offer and explain why. So let's look at Bank A. Bank A is going to give you a $10 gift card no matter how much money you deposit. If you deposit $100, you get a $10 gift card. If you deposit $1,000, same thing. If you deposit $10,000, you still only get a $10 gift card. So my amount isn't changing. So line 2 represents Bank A. It is a constant amount no matter how much you deposit. Bank B then, by default, has to be line 1. Okay? It is showing that the amount of cash back you get, the value of the cash back, depends on your deposit amount. And the more you deposit, the higher your value of the bank offer. Okay? So let's look at simple interest. The formula for simple interest is I equals P times R times T. Simple interest I is the amount of interest owed or earned. The principal P is the amount of money that gets deposited. R is the rate, and it's the percent of interest earned. And this is important, so star this. This must be entered as a decimal. And time T is the number of years the money is deposited. Okay, so let's talk about this for a second here. Let's refresh our memories. To convert from a percent to a decimal, you want to change your percent and make it into a decimal. You have to move the decimal point two places to the left. So sometimes that involves adding a 0 in front and a decimal point. And we have two types of interest. If you deposit money in a bank account, the bank pays you interest for the right to use your money for a period of time. And if you borrow money from a bank, you pay the bank interest for the use of their money. You also pay interest to a credit card company if you have an unpaid balance. And talking about those interests, that's another whole lesson for another whole day. So let's move on. Our simple interest formula, again, is I equals P times R times T. If our interest rate is $2 per year, and our principal is $100, okay, at 0 years you've earned no interest. For 1 year, you have earned $2. If I plug it into my formula, my principal is 100. My interest is 2%, 0.02 in 1 year. When I multiply that all out, I get 2. Okay? If I put it in for 2 years, I end up with $4. If I put it in for 3 years, I end up with a grand total of $6 in interest. Okay? So let's look at an example here. Suppose we deposit $400 in our savings account and keep it in the bank for 6 years. The annual interest rate is 5%. Identify each value in the simple interest formula. So our formula, I is for interest, P is for principal, R is for rate, and T is for time. So my interest, that's what we're trying to calculate. My principal, we know, is $400. My rate is 5%, which is 0.05. And my time is 6 years. So when I multiply all these numbers together, I get an interest rate of $120. Not too shabby. So suppose you deposit $500 in a bank account that earns simple interest at 1.2% per year. You keep it in the bank for 2 years. Which of the following is or are true? So let's calculate our formula. Interest equals principal times rate times time. Interest equals, my principal is 500. Read through 1.2. So if I do that off to the side, 0.012 for my rate. And my time is 2 years. When I do all of that calculating, I get the interest to be 12. So now let's see which ones we have that are true. I equals 12, yep, choice 1. Principal is 1.2%. No, 1.2%, that's my rate, so that one's not true. My rate is 500. Nope, my principal is 500. And my time is 2 years. That is true. So 1 and 4 are true. Arnold puts $580 into a savings account. The account pays 3% simple interest. How much interest will he earn in 5 years? I want you to work on this and we'll come back and look at it together. I got Arnold to earn $87 in interest. I want you to think about this. How does the formula for simple interest after 1 year relate to our percent equation? Remember, our percent equation is the part equals the percent times the whole. If we look at our interest equals percent or principal times rate times time. If I put in 1 for the time, my interest is my principal times my rate. Remember, my rate is a percent. So if I wanted to, I could write this as interest equals my rate times my principal. So my part equals my percentage times the whole. So this is similar to our y equals mx when we did the part equals percent times whole. And so they are the same. Kind of cool. The principal in an account plus the accumulated interest is the balance. So my balance is the principal that I started with plus whatever interest I earned. Okay? So looking at the same graphic we had a few minutes ago. After 0 years, I earned no interest. After 1 year, I earned $2. So my balance would be 100 plus 2. My balance would be 102. Here, after 2 years, I've earned $2 twice, so it would be $104. For 3 years, I'd earn $6. So my interest here is $6. My balance would then be $106. Okay, so my balance at time 0 would be 100, my principal, what I deposited. So we have a bank manager who wants to encourage customers to open a certificate of deposit account, also known as a CD. He decides to make a poster to show how much interest a CD earns over time. Help the manager complete the table. So let's start with this. In 0 years, you've earned 0 interest. We deposited $2,500, so our account balance is still $2,500. So now let's calculate our interest for the first year. I'm using my interest equals principal times rate times time. Right, principal is $2,500. My rate is 3.5%, which would be 0.035. times the time of 1 year. My interest after 1 year is $87.50. So I'm going to put that in my simple interest earned. And now I take my interest that I've earned and I add it to my 2,500. And when I do that, I get $25.87.50. $2,587.50. For year 2, I'm going to slide this down. My principal is still $2,500. My rate is still 0.035. My time is now 2. When I do the arithmetic, I get $175. So for year 2, I earned $175. When I add that to my original deposit of $2,500, I'm up to $2,675. I want you to complete the interest for years 3 and 4 and the new account balances. Welcome back. I hope your amounts agree with mine. I did the simple interest formula and I took the interest I earned and I added it to the original amount of $2,500 to come up with my 2 balances. The next example, a new bank customer with $5,000 to deposit looks at the manager's poster. The customer wants to open a CD to earn money for his retirement. If he wants to have $5,500 in the CD, how long does he need to keep the account? So we're still using the same interest rate of 3.5%. So let's write that down, 3.5% interest. Okay? So we know after 0 years, when he first makes the deposit, he only has $5,500, or he only has, $5,000. Let's see how much interest he has after 1 year. When I do the arithmetic, I get $175, which means the balance is going to be $5,175. Not quite $5,500. Let's see how much we have after 2 years. Plugging in 5,000, same interest rate, 2 years. Again, when I do the arithmetic, I get $350 with a balance of $5,350. Well, we're getting there, but not quite. So let's try 3 years. Still keeping the numbers the same. And now we're at 3 years for time. When I do the math, I get 525, and bingo, finally. My balance now is $5,525. So how long did it take me? It took me 3 years. Not too bad for having money just sit around. Sitting around in the bank, it made $525. Pretty good. All right. So now, in some situations, interest is accumulated on a monthly basis. Interest equals principal times rate times time, but time has always been in years. What if we only have it in there for 3 months? We need to convert months to years. And we know 3 months out of 12 months is 1/4 of a year. So you can leave it as a fraction, or you can simplify it. You can simplify it in the beginning, or you can simplify it in the end. Either way, it doesn't matter. I prefer simplifying in the beginning. So after 8 months, who will earn more in interest, and how much more? So let's look at Alex. The principal is $2,950, a rate of 0.04, and we are leaving it in for 8 months. So I'm going to do this off to the side. 8 out of 12, that reduces, that reduces to 4 goes into 8 twice, 4 goes into 12 3 times, 2/3. This makes it a little bit easier to work with. So now when I do my arithmetic, Alex has earned $78.67. Let's see how Maya does. Make sure you convert your rate, and the time again is 8 months for 2/3 of the year. Do some arithmetic. I get $50. So who earned more? Alex earned more. And how much more? Well, if I do $78.67 minus 50, that is $28.67 more. I just subtracted the 2. Now, who's going to have a higher balance after 16 months? So let's look at this. Let's look at Alex. Principal is $2,950. Rate is still 0.04. Now I'm working with 16 months. Let's do this here. 16 months. 4 goes into 16 4 times, 4 goes into 12 3 times, so 4/3. So when I do a little bit of calculating, the interest is $157.33. So the balance is $157.33 plus the original principal of $2,950. So let's extend this, we'll write it out. Gives me $3,107.33. Looking pretty good for Alex after 16 months. Maya had a principal of $3,000, a rate of 2.5%, and a time of 4/3 of the year, or 4/3 years, it's plural, it's more than one. She ends up with $100 in interest. So when I take her balance, she started with $3,000, and is adding $100. Her balance is $3,100. So who has the higher balance? Alex. Which goes to show that having a higher interest rate, even though you started with less money, is going to pay you more over time. Here's the last one. Suppose your friend has earned $551 in interest after 9 months. If the annual interest rate is 3%, how much is the principal in the account? And they want us to round to the nearest dollar. So let's look at this. Interest equals principal times rate times time. My interest is $5.51. My principal, that's what I'm looking for. My rate is 3%, 0.03, and my time is 9 months. So 9 over 12 simplifies to 3/4. When I multiply this out, I get 0.09 over 4 p. You guys know how to solve this. Multiply by the reciprocal. Simplifies nicely. I need to do it over here as well. When I do my math, the principal is $244.89. My question is asking for it to the nearest dollar, $245. To make sure I'm right, I would put this 245 in for the principal up in here and check to make sure that when I do 245 times 0.03 times 3/4, I get an interest rate of 551. We're going to get a touch more than 551 because we did round our answer. All right, you have a great night. Thanks for watching such a long video. Have a good one. Bye-bye.